You didn't arrive here by accident. This moment, this message was sent for you. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but right now. Right when your spirit needed it most. You've walked through seasons where nothing made sense, where friendships crumbled, where the noise of the world made you feel like a stranger in your own skin. You've asked questions in the silence of your heart. Why don't I fit in? Why does everyone else seem so at ease while I carry this invisible weight? But hear this, chosen one. What looked like rejection was really protection. What felt like isolation was divine insulation. You were never abandoned. You were set apart. From the very beginning, the hand of the Most High has been over your life, shaping you, shielding you, and calling you closer. There's a reason why crowds drain you, why shallow conversations leave you feeling empty, why you long for more truth, more clarity, more of God. It's because you carry something sacred, and the sacred cannot dwell in chaos. This message is not just information, it's confirmation. You've always known there was something different about you. And now the stirring in your spirit, that's the voice of God whispering, remember who you are. I marked you, I called you, I chose you. You're not here by chance. You are here by divine design. And the journey you're about to step into, it begins now. If this resonates with your spirit, comment, set apart below. Let the world know you've heard the call. There's something you've carried since childhood, something you couldn't explain, but could never ignore. While others laughed easily in crowds, you stood quietly on the edge. While the world rushed toward noise and attention, you found yourself retreating to stillness, unsure why the noise felt so heavy on your chest. You watched people fit in like puzzle pieces, but no matter how you tried, you remained the one edge that never quite clicked. Maybe you blamed yourself. Maybe you questioned, what's wrong with me? But what you felt wasn't dysfunction. It was distinction. The truth is, you were never meant to fit. You weren't designed to move with the crowd. That invisible barrier between you and the world wasn't rejection. It was the mark of being set apart. The disconnect you felt your whole life wasn't accidental. It was the fingerprint of heaven, pressed gently on your soul. People around you have called it introversion. Some even called it distance. But deep down, your spirit knew better. It wasn't shyness. It wasn't awkwardness, it was discernment. A spiritual alertness that made your skin prickle when the atmosphere shifted. An invisible radar that picked up what no one else seemed to notice. You've always known when something felt off, even when everyone else smiled and nodded. That's not a flaw, that's a gift. That's divine sensitivity. You've likely walked into rooms and felt your chest tighten before a word was spoken. You've had conversations that drained you in ways no one else seemed to feel. You've said yes to events, only to leave feeling like your soul had been poured out and nothing poured back in. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're wired differently. Your spirit is tuned to a frequency others can't hear. Like a radio set to a sacred station, your soul picks up the subtleties, the intentions behind the words, the pain beneath the smiles, the spiritual weight lingering in the atmosphere. You don't just hear what people say, you feel what they carry. You absorb what's unspoken. And that's why the noise of the world overwhelms you. It's not just noise, it's energy. And your spirit was never meant to be a sponge for chaos. It was meant to be a vessel for light. When the Most High sets someone apart, He rewires how they move in the world. You were not created for the shallow or the surface. That's why empty conversations leave you restless. That's why gossip makes your soul shrink. That's why the crowd makes you question your place. Not because you're less, but because you carry more. More awareness, more purpose, more weight. And in a world that glorifies blending in, your sensitivity becomes your separation. But don't mistake your separation as something to be ashamed of. It is your armor. It is your calling. And it is the very thing that will guide you to your mission. Because God doesn't hide what He doesn't plan to use. And He has hidden you, set you apart, not to isolate you, but to preserve you for something greater. So if your journey has felt lonely, if the world feels too loud and your heart too exposed, remember this: you are not broken, you are chosen, you are set apart. And heaven knows exactly who you are. You've felt it more times than you can count. The sudden shift in energy when you walk into a room. Eyes glance your way, conversations grow cautious, You don't even speak, but your presence alone seems to stir the atmosphere. You've wondered why people withdraw from you without cause, or why certain environments leave you feeling like an outsider, even when no one says a word. But this, chosen one, is not rejection. It's revelation. You are not being pushed away by the crowd. You are being protected by the Spirit. There's something different about you, and it's not arrogance, not pride, not strangeness. It's power. Quiet, humble, sacred power. You carry a rare vibration, a spiritual frequency that disrupts what is hidden. Without effort, your presence shines light into shadows, and not everyone is ready to be seen. That's why some resist you. That's why others project onto you, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Your light reminds them of the darkness they've ignored. And when truth walks into a room, every mask begins to tremble. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to break through. God didn't set you apart so you could mimic the masses. He marked you to lead them out. While others chase trends, you carry timeless truth. While the world moves in patterns of fear, comparison, and distraction, your steps are ordered in purpose. Your difference isn't a weakness, it's your armor. It's what keeps you aligned when the world spins out of control. There's a reason you feel friction in groups, a reason why chaos clings to you like static in a storm. You and the crowd were never designed to mix. Like oil and water, your spirit was made to flow on a higher plane. When your frequency enters a space shaped by ego, gossip, or confusion, it doesn't blend, it exposes. And exposure makes people uncomfortable. That discomfort isn't your burden to carry. It's your signal to stand firm in who you are. The disconnection you feel is holy. It's heaven's way of saying, you don't belong here. Not because you're not worthy, but because you've been called elsewhere. And yes, it's hard. Yes, there are days when loneliness whispers louder than purpose. But don't be fooled. You are not alone. You are being preserved. The same God who called you out of the noise is the one preparing you to speak into it with power. Sometimes the protection of God looks like closed doors. Sometimes it looks like unreturned texts or rooms you're never invited into. But what feels like loss is actually preservation. God is not punishing you. He is shielding you. He is keeping you from places that would distort your purpose and dilute your calling, because your mission is too important to be contaminated by the confusion of the crowd. So the next time you feel that invisible wall rise up between you and the world, don't curse it, bless it. That wall is not your prison, it's your sanctuary, it's your armor. It's the divine barrier that reminds you, you were never called to fit in. You were chosen to stand apart. You've likely wondered why your life has been marked by long seasons of isolation. Why, in the moments you most longed to be seen, you were hidden. Why, just as you started to build connection, the door quietly closed. It wasn't chance, it wasn't failure. It was training. It was God pulling you away from the noise, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because before elevation comes separation, and before revelation comes isolation. This is the pattern of the chosen. You are not the first to be led into the wilderness. Look through Scripture and you'll see it woven into every calling. Moses was hidden in the desert for 40 years before he ever stood before Pharaoh. Elijah hid in caves before he called down fire. Even Jesus withdrew to the wilderness before he stepped into his public mission. Solitude is not a detour, it's the proving ground. The quiet place is not where your calling ends, it's where it is forged in fire. God hides those he intends to use. When your phone grows silent, when the invitations stop coming, when no one checks in anymore, it's not abandonment, it's sacred space. It's where God removes every distraction so he can speak to you clearly. The wilderness strips away what is not needed. It reveals what you've depended on and teaches you to depend on him alone. In the silence, you begin to hear heaven, not in the thunder, not in the earthquake, but in the still small voice that's been waiting to reach your heart. You may have spent years asking, why am I so alone? But now you're beginning to understand. God was setting you apart to speak to you directly, not through others, not through applause, but through the unshakable whisper of truth that rises only when the world falls silent. That whisper doesn't come in crowded rooms. It doesn't compete with chaos. It waits for the quiet. And in that quiet, your clarity is born. Your vision is refined. Your strength is not in your numbers, but in your nearness to the source. Because you are not being shaped for a small assignment. You are being trained to carry something heavy, a truth, a message, a mission that cannot be rushed or handled casually. The longer the hiding, the deeper the purpose. And the deeper the purpose, the more sacred the preparation. Don't despise this wilderness season. Don't rush to escape it. Embrace it like the classroom it is. It is here, in the stillness, that the Spirit sharpens your discernment, deepens your roots, and strengthens your faith. When no one else sees you, heaven does. When no one else applauds, the angels surround. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. So walk through this solitude with your head high. God is not delaying your destiny. He is developing your strength. And when the time is right, when your foundation has been fortified by fire, you will step out of the shadows, not as someone seeking recognition, but as someone fully prepared to carry the weight of a divine calling. Because what God is building in private, He will one day reveal in power. There's a weight you carry that few understand, a silent heaviness that comes not from your own struggles, but from everything you feel around you. You walk into a room and sense the tension before a word is spoken. Someone smiles, but your spirit detects sorrow behind the curve of their lips. You hear what they say, but you feel what they hide. This is not imagination. This is not weakness. This is spiritual sensitivity, an empathic gift that allows you to touch the invisible, to carry the unseen, and to discern what others deny. You don't just live in the physical world, you walk through spiritual landscapes. And with every step, your heart is picking up signals most people will never notice. That's why noisy environments leave you drained. That's why crowds overwhelm you. You're not just hearing sounds or seeing faces, you're absorbing energy, you're processing emotions that don't even belong to you. And if you're not careful, you begin to confuse their pain with your own. This is the burden of the empathic chosen one. God designed your heart to be open, tender, compassionate. But He also knew that this gift, if unguarded, could become your undoing. Because without boundaries, you don't just feel, you carry. You take on what was never meant for you. You become a sponge for sorrow, a container for chaos, and slowly your own light begins to flicker beneath the weight of other people's darkness. That's why God draws you into solitude, not to isolate you, but to protect you, to cleanse your spirit, to recalibrate your heart. The more noise you absorb, the more desperately your soul needs stillness, because only in quiet places can your spirit be rinsed, healed, and made whole again. Sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a tool, a sacred instrument given to those who are called to feel, to sense, and to serve, but it must be stewarded with wisdom. You were never meant to carry the emotional baggage of every person you meet. You were made to shine light, not to drag chains. When someone unloads their pain into your lap, it doesn't mean you're required to carry it. Your compassion is a bridge, not a burden. And knowing when to listen and when to let go is spiritual maturity. That's why certain conversations leave you breathless. Why after being around certain people, your body aches and your soul feels depleted. It's not that you're fragile, it's that your spirit is open. And open spirits attract both the wounded and the wise. But the enemy knows this too, and will send emotional weight you were never meant to bear. That's why discernment is your shield. That's why boundaries are your survival. Listen closely, chosen one. You were made to carry light, not everyone's spiritual baggage. You are not here to fix every soul, absorb every wound, or solve every broken heart. You are here to illuminate, to reflect truth, to walk in peace. The gift God gave you is rare, but it must be protected. For if the enemy cannot steal your purpose, he will try to drown it in other people's pain. So guard your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Love deeply but wisely. Listen compassionately but cautiously. Feel but don't carry. You were never meant to lose yourself trying to heal everyone else. You are not their savior. You are His servant. And your light will shine brighter when it is anchored, not entangled. There's a reason your spirit becomes restless in certain places. A reason why some conversations feel like static in your soul, and why time spent in the wrong rooms leaves you more confused than connected. Every environment you step into, every person you give your energy to, these aren't just moments, they are spiritual exchanges. And each one either sharpens you for the mission ahead, or scatters your focus just enough to dull your edge. You weren't called to walk casually through life. You were chosen for a divine assignment. And divine assignments require precision. Heaven doesn't anoint people with blurry vision. That's why the Most High is so intentional about keeping your path clear. He strips distractions not to deprive you, but to protect your clarity. Because when your mind is clouded with noise, you miss the instruction. You miss the strategy. And when you're distracted, the enemy doesn't have to defeat you. He just needs to delay you. Distractions don't always come dressed as danger. They come disguised as opportunities, as friendships, as busyness that feels important but bears no fruit. That's why discernment is so critical in your journey. Not every open door is from God. Not every crowd is your calling. Just because something is available doesn't mean it's aligned. The enemy would rather see you busy than effective. He'll fill your calendar to keep your spirit empty. God is calling you to a different rhythm, a quieter one, a sharper one. You may notice how much more in tune you are with His voice when you're alone. How clarity seems to return the moment you step away from the chaos. That's not a coincidence. That's divine design. Your clarity is your compass, and it only functions when it's free from interference. You may feel like you're missing out when you step back, like everyone else is moving ahead while you sit in silence. But silence is where heaven speaks the loudest. While others move with noise, you are learning to move with purpose, to listen for the whisper, not the applause, to follow the cloud, not the crowd. The fewer distractions around you, the clearer your connection with God becomes. And in that clarity, instructions are released. Not vague inspiration, but detailed direction. The kind that shifts seasons, the kind that launches destinies. But it only comes to those who are quiet enough to hear it, focused enough to carry it, and surrendered enough to obey it. So if God is removing people, places, or patterns from your life, let them go. If you feel the need to retreat when others gather, honor that. Your spirit is guarding something sacred. Your time, your focus, your calling. You are not here to be everywhere. You are not called to connect with everyone. You are here to fulfill one holy assignment with absolute clarity. And you'll only complete it when you learn to silence the noise, trust the pruning, and walk by instruction, not impulse. Because where the enemy uses distraction to scatter, God uses clarity to align. And when you're aligned, no force in hell can shake your mission. You may not be in the spotlight. You may feel tucked away while others seem to flourish publicly. But let this truth settle deep into your spirit. You are hidden, not forgotten. Heaven has not overlooked you. Heaven has intentionally covered you. You've been set apart, not cast aside. This season of separation isn't a punishment. It's a sacred preparation. While the world chases recognition, God has been refining your character. While others seek applause, you've been taught to value alignment. You're not missing out, you're being made ready. Every quiet season, every closed door, every silent battle has been a tool in the hands of the Most High, shaping you for something greater than you can yet imagine. And when the time is right, when the foundation is strong and the clarity is sharpened, you will emerge. Not desperate for attention, not looking for validation, but walking with divine authority assigned by heaven itself. So don't measure your purpose by the noise around you. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's pace. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to lead, to awaken, to transform. You were hidden so heaven could sharpen you. And now that edge is ready. Stand tall, chosen one. Your destiny is not behind you, it's rising ahead. And when you step forward, the world will not recognize the silence you came from, but they will see the power of who you've become.